Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Peak Performance Podcast, first episode of 2023. Happy New Year to you all. For those that don't know us yet, the Peak Performance Podcast focuses on helping ambitious professionals reach their peak performance goals in all areas of their life through cutting-edge fitness insights from two of the world's best and most knowledgeable fitness consultants that I personally know of, at least. My co-hosts, Andrew Menashian, former Australasians men's physique champion, and Mick, CEO of Performance U. In this first episode of 2023, we're going to talk about the gold standard as well as the latest innovation when it comes to goal setting and achieving your goals in this new year. Our goal with this episode is to give you a blueprint for how to get what you want from this new year. To start, I want to mention a tweet by Alex Hormozi. He tweeted the following to kickstart the new year. Quote, false, new year, new you. True, new actions. New year. Now, Alex Hormozi did not further elaborate on this. And so I'd like to kick things off by asking you guys, Andrew and Mick, for your interpretation and your thoughts on this idea that he's introducing.
I think he's got a point. So a lot of people say, oh, new year, new me. What are you doing to make a new you? If you're not making any changes, then there is no new you. You're the same person. So yeah, I definitely think he's got what actions are you putting into place? How are you going to make this new year different? Are you going to be one of those people that we've all seen rock up to the gym, do gym for a month? I'm motivated. I got New Year's motivation and then just drop off like every other year. So what are you doing to actually change? So yeah, I definitely think he's got a point.
Yeah, just going off that, Andrew. Absolutely, man. So there's a key word in there, new actions. So it's all about taking actions, right? I think we see it's very common these days for people to like, yeah, new year, new me. There's a big link between the guys that have New Year's resolutions and people that start Monday. They never get shit done. So yeah, I like that from Alex Hormozi. Absolutely. It's all about taking action and actually sticking to something for longer than, like you said, Andrew, for a month where that initial euphoria wears out. The secret is just to actually, have a strong purpose, have a strong why, and actually commit. And that's what actually keeps people going for the new me sort of people.
Fantastic. I like your point there, Mick, about having a strong why. Like in business, one of the most effective strategies is to start off with why, and that just feeds into everything else. That's a fantastic point. What do you want to accomplish this year? Why do you want to accomplish these things? You need to have a noble why that really resonates with you.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, sorry, Bobby, keep going.
I was going to ask, how do you come up with that why?
Well, you just look, there's an old saying, I think, how does it go? It has a strong enough why, can bear almost anyhow.
Yes. That's a good one.
I read that many years ago and that stuck with me. It's all about, look, you got to have a strong sense of purpose, man, because I reckon if you don't have a strong enough why, a strong sense of purpose, you're just going to fall through. When the going gets tough, you're just going to fall through. So what I like to say to my clients is, if you feel like quitting, just go back to why you started. Why did you start in the first place? And there's a really big, like I work with a lot of dads. I'm like, and I tend to ask them, it's the question I like to ask is, what if your kids couldn't eat? What would you do then? And then it's like, okay, yes, because for a lot of dads, it's their why is there to be a role model. Their why is their children, to be that example for their children. Yeah, if you're gonna, I reckon, just go back to really hit that sort of emotional button to why you're doing this. You've got to have a strong sense of purpose as to why you're doing something.
Yeah, agree. It's interesting you said that, start with why. There's the book from Simon Sinek. It's called Start With Why. It's a great book. And yeah, it's true. Like I think I used this example in a previous episode where if there was some skill, let's say I could be a world-class figure skater, right? Yeah, if I could just click my fingers, I'd want to be that world-class figure skater, but I don't want it that bad. I'm not going to go to practice. There's no why for me. Like, I don't need it. You know what I mean? So a lot of people say they want something, but they don't really want it. Like, you actually have to put in some work. So this is why you see a lot of people, when they have some life-changing experience, all of a sudden, bam, they got this why now. I've got to do something about it. Like, I had a cancer scare. Oh, I need to take my health seriously. There's a really good why. And a lot of people just they don't want it bad enough, to put it plain and simple. There is no why. They're just complacent, they're lazy, and they don't have any reason to change. But if someone actually wants to change, they need to change. They need to start with their mindset. They need to start with, what is the reason? Oh, I want to be healthy. Why do you want to be healthy? Oh, because I'm sick of looking out of shape and feeling a lack of energy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. How bad do you want that change? Do you really want it? Obviously, so this is something I want to talk about maybe later in the episode, but too many people make it too hard too quick. So it's like, oh, I want this. Oh, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week and I'm going to eat 1,200 calories. So it's like 0 to 100. So you just make life way too difficult. Obviously, there's easier ways to do it. You can ease your way into it, but pretty much bang on with this. No one has a big enough why. The vast majority of people, just like they go into the gym, no reason they're there. It's like, oh, I'm just going through the motions, whatever. But yeah, you definitely got to start with why. You definitely have to have your mindset ready, willing, and wanting to actually go through that change and accepting it's not going to be fucking easy. So yeah, the why, keeping that why in mind is definitely a massive thing that's going to help.
Yeah, absolutely. And just touching off that, Andrew, as well, when you mentioned, see, you're either towards pleasure motivated or you're away from pain motivated. So I like to use the metaphor of, let's say you put your hand on top of a stovetop for too long, what happens? Boom, you're going to move. So that's away from pain motivated. So people wait till they get some life-threatening illness, life and death situation where they actually get started. Or you can be that towards pleasure motivated where, okay, let's give you an example of, just having that confidence walking around with my shirt off. I want to look good taking my shirt off. I'm sick of wearing my shirt at the beach. See, these are examples of why. But see, usually I like to, when I actually do my initial consults with my clients, I like to know whether they're towards pleasure motivated or they're away from pain motivated. So they're waiting for it. They're waiting for like an illness to get started or a life-threatening illness to get started. So this sort of the two types of people. Usually the better is the towards pleasure motivated.
Interesting. Yeah, so you can extend it off that as well. People wait until they hit their rock bottom. But some people's rock bottom is higher or lower than other people's rock bottom. Yeah, if another good way that people could understand is, do you need to wait until you're 150 kilos, blah, blah, blah? Is you need to wait for that to be your wake-up call, to be your rock bottom? Or can we get the ball rolling quicker? There's a few psychological things that we could definitely talk about, but it's all psychological at the day. So I suppose we could call it a mental health thing. This arguably part of what we're talking about now is going to be like a mental health kind of episode. Why is your mental health needing you to be, why is your rock bottom? Like, why is it so fucking low? Like, why is it, I need to hit 200 kilos. I was like, oh, now I need to do something about it. Why do you need to get that far? Like, why can't you do something about it now? Yeah, it's an interesting topic.
Absolutely. There's also a point, I think I touched on this last episode. Yeah, it's all well and good to set goals, especially if you've got big lofty goals. When you look at, say you want to lose, I don't know, say what, 30, 40 kilos, and you've got this massive goal. Like, it's, what people tend to do, they tend to look at the end goal rather than the process. So my advice to these people that have got big goals, especially when it comes to the health and fitness, is, did you get to the gym today? And that's all you need to worry about. Don't worry about if you're getting stronger. Don't worry about what your ass looks like or your biceps looks like, or if you've got that six pack or how strong you're getting. My advice to these people is, did you get to the gym today? That's it. You did, beautiful. Do the same thing tomorrow. Do the same thing tomorrow and do the same thing the day after. Before you know it, you're going to start to see results. And that's where the motivation comes in. So that's it. Like I said, all you got to do is just focus on is, did you get to the gym today? Because that's a lot of people's problems these days. They like to think of the end goal too much. It's all well and good, but just focus on the process. The process is very important. In this case, just get to the gym. Did you do that? Beautiful. Rinse, repeat, do that again the next day.
Mick, you made an interesting point earlier about motivation, and that there's two types of people. One group of people are running away from a negative motivator, and there's another group of people who are running toward a positive motivator, like pleasure. I once heard Jordan Peterson say that the most powerful version of what you just talked about is when someone has both. So when you're both running towards something that's pleasurable and that you want, and you're running away from something that you don't want. So what do you guys think of starting the year off with not only what do you want out of the year, but what don't you want out of the year? What do you guys think about that strategy?
Yeah. Definitely a good strategy, but it all comes down to the psychology of the person as well. I like to use little cues and stuff like they can place in the environment. So, what you're running away from, remind yourself, put it on the fridge and pantry. Every time you go in there and you're like, oh, fuck this diet, I'm going to eat some Tim Tams and Oreos and blah, blah, blah. But then it's like you see that reminder, like it could either be a picture of someone else and what you think you're going to end up looking, or you at your worst, or whatever it may be, but it needs to be something that's going to kick you into gear. So every time you go there, you just, at the very minimum, it's just going to be like, you're just looking at that photo. Should I really do it? Should I not? At least you're going to feel guilty. Good. Feel guilty. Good. You want that. And then, yeah, in terms of what you want to aspire to be, you could put that anywhere, right? You could also put it there. You could put it on the fridge and pantry, what you don't want to look like, what you do want to look like. You put it on your background, blah, 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 whatever it's going to take. But the more reminders, the better. I would argue that you could also do that, something like a affirmation in the morning as well. Wake up, look at it, remind yourself right now. Before you go to bed, do it again. The more, the better, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. When you mentioned the sort of, Marcus, geez, we've just had a bit of a fucking moment there. Okay, we say a client says, oh, let me think about it. What's there to think about? You don't make a decision now. In 6 months' time, what's going to happen in 6 months? So you've been putting this off for how long now? 3 years? Okay, you want to think about it. What's there to think about? Let's say you start today, right? Imagine how you'd look back. Imagine in 6 months' time if you had started today. Rather than putting things off. Like I said, it all goes back to the psychology.
Just for those that don't know what Tim Tams are, because Andrew, you keep talking about Tim Tams. Tim Tams are, you could say, an iconic Australian treat. And so for those listening in outside of Australia, so when the Australian Prime Minister visits, let's say the British Prime Minister, he brings them a little pack of Tim Tams. They're little cookies. Chocolate cookies, yes. But yeah, Andrew, that's actually what I do myself. I started doing this last year and I had a really good year last year, and I've done it again this year. I have on my wall, I printed 2 visual images, one a vision of what I don't want and what would happen if I don't work on my goals. And then I have another one of what I do want and what could happen if I do give it my all. Funny enough, I actually used Midjourney, the AI generating art program to generate. I'll show them to you guys later. But yeah, that works really well for me.
That's actually powerful, Marcus. I like that.
Yeah,
and also the point that Andrew brought up as well is actually writing down your goals and putting them where you're going to see them every day, in front of the mirror when you brush your teeth, or on the fridge, or on the wall, just somewhere where you're going to sit every day, where it's just going to ingrain in your subconscious, because that's very powerful. That's actually a good one. Actually, so I get one of my clients to do that as well. If they got a goal, write it down on paper and put it where you can see it every single day. Like I said, whether on your mirror in the bathroom, when you're brushing your teeth, on your fridge, in your office, on the wall, when you get out of bed, just to see it every morning. That's actually very powerful. And the one you just mentioned too, Marcus, I like that. Actually, I might steal that one. I like that one. Thanks for that. Thank you.
I'm going to patent it first. I'm kidding.
So on top of that, a couple of little tricks you can do. We're all talking about basically the same thing, like how we can make it more efficient. A thing I like to do is, it's like affirmations. I like to say affirmations. It's positive thought. You want to call it self-hypnosis or whatever. But then there's certain techniques that work better in the morning, certain things that work better at night. Like, for example, like a brain dump. A brain dump works better at night in general for most people, whereas affirmations work better in the morning, like you're starting your day off with something positive. So I like to do a little bit of a combination of both. I say the affirmations in the morning. I like to write them down at night. So it's sort of like when you're learning something, you write it down. It kind of helps you learn a bit better if you actually write it down. But when you go to bed at night, your subconscious is going to be extremely active. So if you're writing it down right before night, it's helping ingrain in your subconscious as well. Again, the more exposed you are and the more reminded you are to what your goal is, the more likely that goal is to actually happen. And just touching on that as well, when you're writing down your affirmations, make sure it's positive. So something that a lot of people get mixed up is like, oh, I don't want to look bad. Don't say that. Like you're saying the negative in your affirmation. Say, I'm going to be a big badass jack motherfucker. Something like that. It's just positive. There's no negative in that statement. So yeah, don't be like, oh, I don't ever want to look bad again. I don't want to look like a fucking the Michelin man or some shit. Make it positive.
Yeah, I really like that, in that there's different goal setting and motivational strategies that work differently throughout the day. So that's actually a very good framework. In the morning, start your day off with things that get you up and get you inspired. And to end your day, reflect on your day and how that day went. That's actually fantastic. And then by writing them down at night, it really puts it into your subconscious. That's smart. That's a good one. I might copy that, Andrew.
Actually a good one to do too. It'll actually help you sleep better too. When you're actually writing down, so if you're actually getting it from here and you're putting it on paper, especially before bed, it's not going to be on your mind. That's why you guys usually have a racing mind before they can't sleep, before they go to bed and they just can't sleep. So a quick tip, Andrew, is get that shit and put it on paper, and you're gonna be out like a light. So that's actually a good point, Andrew. Absolutely. Before bed, just reflect and write it down on paper. That way, it's out of your brain, and your mind's not going to be racing when it's time to go to sleep, when it's time to unwind. So yeah, good one.
So for those that don't know, that technique is called a brain dump. So it's one of the best, exactly like you were saying, the racing mind. But one of the best things for most people that just can't calm down at night, they can't shut down, do exactly that. So not just what I said, not just the goal thing, everything, whatever's on your mind. I got to do this tomorrow, write it down. I'm stressed about that, write it, whatever it is, just, it's like you're basically downloading everything from your mind on paper. And now it's not here anymore. So you know you're not going to forget it, whatever. It's like it's almost the equivalent of getting something off your chest, like you're getting it off your mind. So just putting it down there helps you relax. You don't need to think about it anymore. It's there. You're not going to forget. You can calm down and get on with your night and fall asleep. So yeah, very good techniques. One of the main stress relieving techniques that I use with my clients.
Absolutely.
That's brilliant. I think that's another one we got to patent and copyright and sell. No, we're kidding. That's what this episode is all about, is us just sharing with you guys some of our unique inventions, frameworks that we've invented. So that's exactly what we're here for. Andrew, you also touched on gradual change. I really like that idea, because one of my favorite books that I've read is Cybernetics by Maltz. And he's achieved some incredible results with his clients and people who've read his book. Anybody who's read that book will tell you that, most people will tell you that it changed their lives, because the concepts are just so powerful. And one of the main concepts is gradual change very gradually and in manageable steps.
I agree with that. So I'm really big with my clients. It depends where you start. So everything I'm about to say depends where your starting point is. If you're starting from absolute scratch and you do not really have any good habits, I advocate to start slow. Like, it's so much more unlikely that person's actually going to follow through with it if they've never done anything difficult, no mental hurdles, blah, 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 in terms of discipline and all that. So if you get this person starting from blank, never done sports, never done anything, and all of a sudden you try and tell them, oh, go to the gym 5 days, you track your calories, do this, you're so much more unlikely to do it, because now it's overwhelming. It's, oh, I can't handle it. No, it's not for me. I'm not the fit person. I can't do this. And they give up. Whereas if you got this person to just be like, all right, here's what I want you to do. And you structure everything as easy as possible, right? Okay. So everything I'm about to say is what I would recommend to someone starting from scratch. So basically, how can I make this as easy as possible? Well, first of all, do all the hard shit early in the day. Why? Because if you have a hard day's worth of work, now it's, oh, the life was so hard. Now I got to use more mental energy to push myself to go beyond that hardness that I've already dealt with. It's like, it's much more unlikely to be done. Whereas if you were to just be like, okay, I'm going to wake up, there's going to be 10 minutes of suck, and then it's out of the way. And the rest of the day is going to be easy. So it's done. It's fucking done. You don't have to think about it anymore. So first things first, whatever is going to be hard or new, get it out of the way as early as possible. Just make your life easy. You don't want to go through a hard day's of work and then you have to do something hard on top of that. You're less likely to be able to do it. So first thing, do it in the morning, whatever it is. If it's going to be your training, do your training in the morning. Get it out of the way. Like, for example, and the other thing on top of that is you don't want that person to go to doing 5 days a week, super hard training. So an example would be, let's say it's push-ups, it's squats, and I don't know, bent over rows. Obviously, we're going to make a better workout than that, but that's just first 3 things that came to my head. Wake up, 3 sets of each, you're done. So this is just an example. Let's say it was 10 minutes. Start off with 10 minutes. Just go through the motions, get it done. You're done for the day. Get into that habit of making it regular. It might even be 5 minutes. So the technique that I like to use with my clients is ask yourself 10 out of 10, can you do what you're saying you're going to do? For example, if it's like, all right, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do 10 push-ups, 10 squats, and 10. Okay, can I actually do that? Do I think I can actually do that? Oh, it might be a little bit too much to start with. Can you do 5? Yeah, I can definitely do 5. Do 5. Don't try and do 10. Do 5 first. If you 100% believe you can do it, get started with that. Give it a week. If you're used to it, ask yourself again, do I think I could do 10? Nah, I'm not ready for it. All right, stick to 5. Give it another week, and et cetera, until the point where you honestly believe you can do 10, then build it up from there. Or you might go up 1 per day or whatever, but whatever you're trying to do, you need to be able to say to yourself, 10 out of 10, this level of difficulty I can handle. Another good way of thinking about it is the best improvements you're going to make is when it's just outside of your comfort zone. So if let's use a imaginary circle or whatever. If you're in the middle of the circle and then all of a sudden you're trying to go from, let's say, this part of the circle to here, you're not going to do it. It's too much. You're going to feel overwhelmed. You're not going to be able to do it. But if you're like, okay, the comfort zone's here, I'm going to go just here, you're more likely to be able to do it. So I think that's a very good framework for a lot of people to do. And just to break down everything in step by step, like another thing that a lot of people don't realize is winners and losers have the same goals. So it's not the goals themselves that get you there, right? So like someone that wants to lose that 10 kilo thought originally, I want to lose 10 kilo. And then the person that fails every time also thought the same thing. They're like, I want to lose 10 kilos. So what's the goal is meaningless, right? In terms of achieving it, the goal is meaningless. It's what did you put in place to get there? So again, another couple of examples would be, all right, train in the morning. What else can you do to make it easy? Reduce the friction of whatever you're trying to do. For example, if it might be you're going to the gym. Okay, make going to the gym as easy as possible. And what can you do to make going to the gym as easy as possible? Prepare your food, prepare your clothes the night before, get your gym bag ready the night before. So you wake up, go to the bathroom, splash your face, brush your teeth, whatever you do. But then it's put your clothes on and leave. Don't sit there and think, oh, I got to put my clothes on, oh, effort. And then even though it might seem small and insignificant, you're like, oh, choose your clothes. It might not be that hard. Trust me, all the decisions that you make, you're going to get decision fatigue over time. You want to make it as easy as possible. So these are all the little things that you can do. And like I said, why are you making it hard on yourself? There's no, unless you're an advanced athlete and blah, 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 and you need to do it for mental toughness or whatever, that's a different story. That's why I said it matters where you're starting from. If you told me, I don't know, let's say I'm doing a fight camp and all of a sudden I need to do X, Y, Z, and you told me to do that, I'll do it. I've got discipline. I've done it for years and years. That's not an issue for me, but we're not talking about me. All the people that we're trying to help out here aren't at my level. So don't try and be at my level. Another example of this would be, just so people can wrap their heads around it. Let's say bodybuilding programs. So many people, I don't know what it is about bodybuilding programs. Oh, Ronnie Coleman did this, I can do that. No, you can't. Let's use an easier to understand example. Let's use an ultra marathon runner. Would you do a 60K run on your first day ever running? No, you wouldn't. Right? You need to ease yourself into being able to handle that volume of running. And it's the same thing when it comes to bodybuilding and looking good. Don't try and do what this fitness magazine is telling you is a good program. Don't try and do what this pro bodybuilder is doing. Don't try and do what that CrossFitter is doing. Start at your level. And so it's a similar sort of thing that check your ego when you're at the gym. Don't worry about what that person's doing. Don't worry about them. Worry about you. And focus on your level, where you're at, make it as easy as possible, see consistent results, because those small changes over time are going to add up to real lasting progress, as opposed to, oh, I stuck to this routine for a month and then I gave up. Why? Oh, it was too hard. No shit.
Yeah, I find that they get, especially when you put a whole bunch of shit on them, like you said, okay, training, nutrition, sleep, or yada, yada, yada. What I like to do, if I'm going to take something away from them, to give something back. So when it comes to absolute beginners with my clients, I like to say, okay, no worries. Let's just start off with, okay, just keep doing what you're doing. Let's say they have a bacon and egg roll for breakfast. Okay, have your bacon and egg roll. What I want you to do with the roll, I want you to make it gluten-free. Just do that for a week for me. 1 week, gluten-free, bacon and egg roll. Great. They do that next week. How'd you go with that gluten-free? Yeah, I did it. Okay, now what we're going to do, we're going to take away the bread. This time, I want you to have just bacon, eggs, with a bit of tomato sauce. Okay, great. As I mentioned before, if you're going to take something away from them, give them something back. Okay. They drink like a soda or a Coke okay, no worries. No Pepsi, what I want you to do, I want you to have Coke Zero or Diet Coke or Diet Pepsi or Pepsi Max where there's no sugar. So it's these little small steps. So if you start small, these small things always lead to big things. So that's why I like, especially with beginners, I like to start small. Okay, yeah, they've got problems with drinking. Okay, yeah, keep drinking. Or they like to have a bit of cake with they've got a sweet tooth. Okay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to have your protein. I want you to have your veggies. I want you to have your healthy fats. Rather than having your carbs, or your usual carbs like your bread or your high starchy stuff or the whole processed stuff, okay, take that out. What we're going to do, if you want to have your cake, no carbs at dinner, replace the carbs with a piece of cake that you enjoy or one glass of wine. So it's implementing these small little habits that actually lead to big things. What I found that I've worked successfully with clients, in particular beginners as well. So take something away, give them something back in return. That's not actually going to do them any harm. So I find that technique works very well.
That's brilliant. That's a good one. That's a very good one. Yeah. And I'm going to copy that one from you, Mick.
Yeah, for it, man.
That line, if you take something away, give something back. I think that's very powerful. So you said, if you take away the carbs, add a glass of wine or add a dessert on Friday or Saturday, right?
Yeah.
But the other thing that you get out, the other something else that you get back by improving your habits and your actions is just the intrinsic reward and the good feelings that come from exercising, practicing the right mindset, eating right. You just get the intrinsic feel good rewards as well. And after a while, you end up not being able to go to the way you used to be because you just feel so much better. Or like, for example, myself, I started doing a bunch of push-ups every morning, and I started off small, and then I increased the number like every few days. So I start my mornings with a bunch of push-ups. I now can't start my day without the push-ups. I used to hate them. I used to hate doing them, but now I can't start my day without. I literally can't start my day without push-ups.
It's awesome. You learn to love it.
Yeah, right. You can just automatically just change your mood just by moving your body. It's amazing how. See, this morning, right? I didn't have the best night's sleep. I woke up, I was a little bit, and I went for a half an hour walk around the beach. I came back and it just automatically changes my mood. So just move. Just movement itself has a massive impact on your mental well-being, on just the way you feel, and the way you just. If you start your day with some sort of adrenaline, whether it's push-ups or just breath work or going for a walk, you're gonna have your day's gonna be so much more productive than just sitting there doing nothing and just trying to think your way out of stress or think your way out of a bad mood. Or quickest way to change a mood is just to move. Whether that's going for a walk, like you, Marcus, just doing some push-ups, having a cold shower, just get that adrenaline going first thing in the morning. And that's going to set your day up for success. No doubt about it.
Fantastic.
Something that you said, Marcus, like how you said it used to be very difficult in the beginning, but now it's like you enjoy it, you can't do your day without it. So this is the other thing that a lot of people forget when it comes to the difficult things required to change. So for example, I need a diet, I need to get up in routine and go to gym, blah, blah, blah. It gets easier. Like the amount of energy and discipline you need to do something, the more you do it, eventually becomes automatic. Like you don't even have to think, it's just subconsciously, I am this person, this is what I do. It's not even difficult anymore. Like an easy to understand example for some people would be, all right, let's say you're learning how to drive a car. First, however many times you're learning how to drive a car, there's a lot of conscious effort. You're like, blinker, look this way, go that way, stop, lights, blah, blah. There's so much going on. And you're thinking. But now ask any guy that's been driving for 10 years, bro, how much do you think when you drive? I don't think. It just happens. I just get from A to B. You know what I mean? It's just automatic. Like it's all subconscious. So you don't really need to think about it anymore. It's a very low effort. You could, even though you probably shouldn't, depending which country you're in, you could be driving, you could be on the phone, you could have a drink, you could eat a burger. There's so much you can do. You can have like a D&M, like a deep conversation with a friend, blah, blah, blah. There's so much you can do while you're driving now. It's automatic. And that same principle applies to the habit of going to the gym, eating right, blah, blah, blah. The more you do it, the easier it is. And eventually you'll like it. Another example of what you said, Marcus, is I remember when I was young, like when I was a teenager, with training, there were certain muscles that I really liked training, and there were certain muscles I didn't like training. Now I don't know, it's leg day, let's go. Oh, it's difficult, cool, let's go. Like it's not anything anymore. Whereas you got some guys that go to the gym, at least they're going. Where it's like chest and biceps, and that's all I train. Oh, I don't train legs. I don't need to train legs. My legs are good. No, it's just you think it's hard. You've never done it because you've never gone through it. You've never made it automatic. You've never been through the struggle of it. But again, the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So that's something that a lot of people need to understand as well. It's not gonna be as mentally difficult to do it forever. It becomes easier.
Yeah. The hardest part's always the start, right? And the hardest part about getting to actually training is actually getting to the gym. Once you're at the gym, bang, all guns blazing. hardest part about running is actually putting your running shoes on. Once you do those, it's just the initial, it's just the inertia, just the start. That's where, like, the mistake people make is they think they have to be motivated to get started. But what they don't realize is motivation comes after you start, after you build the momentum. That's where motivation comes in from. It comes from not beforehand, it comes after you start. So there's one key point I want to give to our viewers is, don't think motivation is going to get you started. Motivation keeps you going. Just start with where you are and what you've got.
That's very interesting, because in one of our previous episodes, we talked about motivation and dopamine. So it's almost like you need to go start running. You need to get your shoes on and take your first few steps, so your body starts producing that dopamine, and then you'll get the motivation.
Yeah, absolutely. It comes after you start.
Interesting. Andrew, I really like your quote, winners and losers have the same goals. That's a good one. That would make a killer tweet.
Into Twitter.
I think that tweet would give Alex Hormozi's tweet a run for his money.
Yeah,
that's a good one. That's a very good one.
So it's like, this is one of the reasons why, don't get me wrong, a goal is a good thing, but like we're mentioning here, what are you doing to reach that goal? That's the more important thing. Just saying, exactly like we said, like just saying, oh, I want to lose 10 kilos. That's not going to make it happen. You actually have to do something to make it happen. Yeah. They do. They have the exact same goals. Like I'm sure everyone can think of an example. The easy to understand example was the 10 kilo thing. Everyone wants to lose 10 kilos. Everyone wants to lose 20 kilos. What's the difference between the guy that did it and didn't do it? Saying it doesn't make a difference. And like, the other thing is, this is why I'm so big on habits. Like, even if you achieve the goal, it's only a momentary change. Cool. Oh, you lost 10 kilos. Well, if you didn't work on the habits to like instill those habits properly, then you're just going to end up back at square one. All right, I lost the 10 kilos. Now what? You end up putting that weight back on. But if you became that person that's fit, if your habits are cemented, you wake up, you do this, you eat, blah, blah, blah. So now you are that person, and now your habits are cemented. Yeah, I think the habits are much more important than just having the goal itself.
Yep. So you mentioned, Andrew, winners and losers have the same goal, right? Whether that's to lose 10, 20 kilos. There's one word that's missing in that. The difference is that word. The one word is commitment. People lack commitment. So the point I want to get across is the confidence and the character through commitment. So confidence and character via commitment. Because one thing in society that men often lack these days is commitment, right? It's hard to commit to a relationship, to a job, a vocation, a friendship. It's hard to commit to a diet plan or training program, right? It's hard, isn't it? Like, so many people in our culture, they're in the habit of being transient. Like, it's half-assed things. You're not committing things for an extended period until that initial euphoria wears out, or when they'll commit until that shiny red object comes along, or that next big craze comes along. And so, like, it's to the point I want to get across is where true victory comes in life is via commitment. If I say I'm going to do something, that's it. It's considered done. So one thing, look, I want to encourage you guys and our viewers is to just really assess your commitment levels. And the things when it comes to commitment, it can be as small as something so small. So what I've started doing now, what I've committed to, every morning, I'll get out of bed and I start to meditate. Every single morning. It really doesn't have to be anything like big. It can be something so small. And the problem that some people actually do have is overcommitting. And that sort of keeps, I've been guilty of that, where it comes back and keeps punching me in the face. Like, I'll become a people pleaser. I'll say yes for the sake of saying yes. And then whether that's to a friend, to a relative, to one of my clients, or family members, it's like, okay, I'll say yes, but really I should have said no. And then I'll go out of integrity. I'll break that promise and that's it. My integrity's gone. So the conversation we start having, say, what are you committed to? It's either a yes or a no, or yes, that sounds good, but not right now. So going into 2023, I'm not going to overcommit. I'm not going to break my integrity by saying yes, by overcommitting. So it's like, okay, yeah, beautiful, done. Okay, consider it done. Or no, which is fine. Or yes, sounds great, but not right now. Like I said, just one thing people need to really, a massive value, like I said, just the amount of character, the amount of confidence you build is through commitment. Yeah, I want to lose 10, 20 kilos, but okay, What happens when things get tough? What happens when that initial euphoria wears out? Or that shiny red object comes along, or that next big craze comes along? Nah, that one word, that one missing word, Andrea, why people don't stick to it is just commit. Commit to what you do. If you say you're going to do something, that's it, done. It's considered done. I reckon that's the difference between. Marcus. That's the difference between sort of winners and losers. Like I said, goals are bullshit, man. Where are you going to get the massive value from is just fucking committing. If you're going to say you do something, fucking do it. That's it. It's done.
I think that's a powerful idea, commitment, and only committing to what you can. I think that's a powerful framework. And when you're faced with the question of whether to commit to something or not, make it either a yes or a no, but also maybe it sounds good, but later, perhaps. That's a good tactic.
Yeah, I've gotten to the habit of just going out of integrity, man. Where it's, okay, yeah, I'll say yes just to be a people pleaser, but fuck, okay, nah, I should have said no.
Yeah. And there's a certain element of just being a man of your word, not only to other people, but to yourself. If you say you're going to do something, your future version of you isn't going to appreciate you.
Yeah. Look, man, right? Even in little things, Marcus, it's like lying to yourself. Oh, it's okay, but before you know it, people make excuses, man. Even if it's just a little thing. Now, from now on, look, what I want to do this year, my sort of New Year's resolution is just to be honest with myself, and actually being true to myself, being true to my word, no matter how small it is. That's
awesome. A lot of the tactics, strategies, and frameworks you guys have shared, they have lots of parallels in the business world. In the business world, we first come up with a vision, then we come up with a mission, then we have then we have a 3, maybe max 5-year plan. Then we have the annual goals, then the quarterly goals, then the monthly goals, then the weekly goals, and then the daily goals, right? And successful companies, the most valuable companies, do this really well. And the most valuable companies have a culture where people do what they say they're going to do. In other words, like you said, Mick, they commit. In the business world, you have to commit to if you say you're going to do something, you have to commit to it. Otherwise, your reputation's on the line and your job might be on the line, right? So commitment makes the world go around. Commitment is what creates value in the business world. So that's definitely a very interesting point. Another way to think of it is if the most valuable companies are the most valuable companies because they have a good goal setting system as well as they have strong commitment, then if you shrink it down to the level of the person, the most valuable person has a high degree of commitment and has a very good goal setting system.
absolutely, man. Like I said, the true value in life comes via commitment. I reckon that's a massive value. That's why I mentioned goals are bullshit. Yeah, okay, yeah, you got goals. Yeah, you want to do something. It's tough. What are you going to do, right? And you're tough, get going. Commit. Just have that sort of the masculine in us, man, where, you know what? It's getting tough, but hey, I'm going to find a way no matter how tough this gets. It's got to have that mentality where, okay, yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'm going to fall. There's going to be adversity. A goal worth working towards is not going to have adversity. You'd be kidding yourself if you think that there's going to be no hardships or adversity. It's inevitable. It's just how you're going to react to them. Have the mindset, yeah, it's going to be tough, but hey, fuck it. I'm going to find a way no matter how tough it gets.
This is how you become, as they say, a high value man. As you commit, you stay disciplined, you set goals.
Yeah, man, and just find a way no matter how it's, because it's going to get hard, man. What I tell my clients, just anticipate it. Just anticipate it's going to get tough, because absolutely it's going to get tough. Just find a way no matter how tough it gets.
So this takes us back to the why. So we got to wrap up soon because Mick, you got to go train that VIP client of yours. But to wrap things up, going back to the point about the why, like you guys pointed out, perhaps most of our listeners are working professionals and people who already are on top of their fitness game, and they do have a construction of meaning in their lives. But we know as a culture nowadays that there is the meaning crisis, especially among young men. Would you guys have any advice for either young men or even professional age men who don't have a meaning that invigorates them? Do you have any advice on how to come up with something that's going to be meaningful to them?
Well, I suppose, look, there's the obvious cliche sort of one, to be the best version of yourself, blah, blah, blah. But I suppose most men anyway, if you have a decent level of testosterone, I suppose you want to leave a legacy to some degree. You want to have kids or blah, 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 and all of that. So you could arguably say, look, make your ancestors proud. So that's a good way to think about things. Regardless of, I don't want to be anything special, blah, blah, blah. All right, your dad did blah, blah, blah to get you here, and your grandpa, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Are you just going to, all their sacrifices that they made, are you just going to put them to the side and be like, oh, fuck them, fuck your ancestors? That's pretty bad if you have that mindset. So yeah, just something like that. Look, whether it doesn't have to be anything grandiose or anything crazy, but do your ancestors proud to some degree. It's like, all right, I got in good shape. I became a good man. I did X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. I can sleep well at night. I know that I made my ancestors proud. So I think that's a good sort of little paradigm to get into, especially in terms of setting your goals.
I like that one.
Yeah, same. Making the ancestors proud. Yeah, it's a good one. See, at the end of last year, I sent out a sort of a list to all my clients in regards to goal setting. So I'm happy to read it out to you guys and for my viewers. It goes like this. So this year, I want to bench 120 kilos, or I want to lose 10 kilos. This is important to me because what this is going to require of me is the support I'm requesting from us coaches is I respond best to being championed or being challenged. So what that means is, do you like it when someone is hard on you and actually tells you how it is, or do you like to be treated nicely? I personally, I like to be, if someone has to if someone has to give me a massive spray just to get the point across, I'm a big boy. I can handle criticism, where others can't handle criticism. They like it nice, which is fair enough. Next question is, the immediate action I'm committed to taking is, and at the end of the year, you go back and you do a review. You say, okay, what will have made this year a win? Financially, physically, energetically, spiritually, rationally, and personally. So I sent that to my clients at the end of last year. I got them to fill it out and I review it for them. And when it comes to goal setting, it's a powerful method. Because like you said, they've written it down on paper. They can revert back to it. When the going gets tough, you go back to why. So this year, it's important. So go back to the second question. This is important to me because, okay, you feel like quitting, go back to why it's important to you. Just go back to why you started. That's the framework I've given to my clients for goal setting for the year 2023.
That's awesome. Well, if it's worked for your clients, if you'd like to share it, we can share it with the channel.
Absolutely. We can share it with the viewers. It's a very powerful tool.
Awesome.
Actually for goal setting. Yeah. That's why I wrote them down and so I can give to our viewers. And if you guys want to use them as well, very powerful stuff.
Awesome. Good stuff. And with all the other frameworks and strategies that we've shared, we'll create clips of them, bite-sized clips. So stay tuned for that. That way you can get a summary of some of the concepts we talked about.
I want to add in one more thing that I forgot real quick. So just another little strategy to help people stay on track is to find a way to track your progress, whatever it may be. Because if you don't see progress, it's hard. It's very hard to stick with what you're doing. And it's like every time you progress and you can see that improvement, it's like a dopamine hit as well. So you're creating like an upward spiral, positive feedback dopamine loop. So that's a very good thing. And another thing you can do as well is to celebrate your wins. Hit a milestone, celebrate your wins. So for example, if you want to lose 20 kilos, break it down in 5 kilo increments or something. It's like, all right, when I lose 5 kilos, I'm going to celebrate by X. Try not to make the X something that's going to put those 5 kilos back on. So don't celebrate with some cake or something like that, unless you're tracking your calories, blah, 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 whatever. But yeah, find a way to track your progress, whatever it may be, whether it's measurements or whatever, but you need to see if you're making progress. If you don't see that progress, again, it's very difficult to keep. So yeah, track the progress, celebrate the wins, no matter how small they are. It's going to keep you more motivated. It's going to create a positive feedback loop. It's going to help with dopamine. So overall, it's just a very good strategy to implement.
Awesome.
Yeah, I find results is a massive motivator. Yeah, it's a good one, Andrew. Should have mentioned that one.
Yeah, that's another golden nugget for our listeners.
One more word. So for me, sorry guys, commit. Just commit. Commitment.
Okay.
What about goals? Commitment. That's your fucking value for 2023 is commitment.
Okay.
That's where true confidence and character come from, via commitment.
Is that the word of the year?
Absolutely. People are too transient. People are too transient these days, man. Sort of half-ass shit. Just go all the way. Commit.
All right. So the Peak Performance Podcast word of the year is commit.
Commit.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So we'll chop up some of all the advice we shared in bite-sized pieces, but just to summarize in a nutshell, some of the points that you guys talked about. First, come up with a why, a powerful and meaningful vision for what you want to accomplish. Articulate that into a mission, what businesses do, right? And then set a 3 to 5 year plan, set a 1 year plan, set a monthly plan, weekly track your progress, like Andrew said. And the business analogy, the most valuable businesses do this really well, including the commitment part. And so if you want to be a high value individual, that's the model you got to follow. All right, guys, thanks very much for all the advice you shared with the audience. We'll wrap it up here. Thanks to all the listeners. If you guys liked the content we shared, give us a so that we know and have your feedback, and we'll keep this show going. So please subscribe to show your support. Stay tuned for the next episode. I feel like there's more that we have to say about it. It's a very rich topic. So we might do a part 2 of this later in the year. Perhaps a track your progress episode. So stay tuned for that, folks. And that's a wrap for today. Mick and Andrew's Instagrams are going to be in the description, so you can hit them up there for more questions. And that's a wrap. Thanks everyone for listening in, and Happy New Year and 2023. Commit and crush your goals.